Welcome back to Say No To Lashon Hara, Day 14. This episode has been sponsored anonymously, and the entire project is being done as a zechut for refuah shlema for Chana bat Simefega. The Chafetz Chaim is discussing the negative outcomes that come from speaking Lashon Hara and rechilut. One of the big ones is machloket, fighting, division. You see, imagine a boss comes and has a conversation with a friend of his about a coworker that they both know. The friend then goes back to the coworker and says, your boss said you're not delivering on time. The guy says, the boss said that about me? The reason why I couldn't deliver on time was because he didn't give me approval. Guy goes back to the boss and says, look, I just want you to know, the guy said the reason why he's not getting the job done is because you didn't give approval. The boss responds, I didn't give approval? Did I see one proposal in my email inbox? Guy goes back and says to the fellow, you didn't send any proposals to his email. The fellow says, email? He never reads a single email that I say. Therefore, I put the printed sheets out on his desk, and if he didn't see them, it's because he's disorganized or because he doesn't look at things that people send him. Now, the Lashon Hara is flowing in two different directions. Each time the person in the middle volleys back and forth, the other side gets more angry and more enraged, and the machloket, the fight, is more entrenched. The Torah obligates us to stay away from creating machloket in the pasuk in Parashat Korach, which says, Lo tiyeh ke Korach, lo yiyeh ke Korach uchadato. You should not be like Korach and the assembly around him that caused the machloket. Machloket, we know, also carries with it a terrible price, something we want to stay far away from. Another element that's important to recognize with regards to speaking negatively about people is that aside from the isur of Lashon Hara and rechilut and machloket and lo yakum ed echad, like we mentioned yesterday, and so many other things that we've already spoken about, there's another isur called ona'at Devarim. The pasuk says, Lo tonu ish et amito. A person should not hurt his friend. And there's two kinds of hurt that are described in this context. One is hurting someone financially, and another is hurting someone with words, and that's called ona'at Devarim. Anytime you remind someone that they're incapable, that they're lazy, that they're not creative, those words, they don't just kind of float around the person. Like the popular adage goes, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That idea we know is false. In fact, oftentimes the words that are said to us have a more profound and deep impact on us than the sticks and stones would have. And we'd prefer to get hit physically than to get hit in this way. Say those words enough to a person and they become the person's true reality. My friends, this idea is something that we need to drive home to ourselves again and again and again. Because even if you didn't say it to someone else, so it isn't Lashon Hara, it might be ona'at Devarim if you say it even to the person himself by bringing up something from his past. You cannot tell someone, remember when you were just a Baal Teshuvah and you just were returning to Judaism. You cannot tell someone, do you remember when you converted? You cannot tell someone, do you remember when you used to be part of that gang? Reminding someone of their sordid past makes them feel bad, and that's called ona'at Devarim. If you say it to them in front of someone else, family members, other friends, even if you meant it as a joke, that person's feelings are hurt, and that's ona'at Devarim and Lashon Hara, because now it was shared in front of that person's close friends or family. And could you imagine something that a person would want to happen less than to be humiliated in front of the people who he loves the most?